Okay, so I'm going to do the Google Analytics certification exam. So these are the four subject areas that it covers: Analytics Fundamentals, Platform Principles, E-commerce Analytics, and Mobile App Analytics Fundamentals. So this is within your Google Partners account. So in here, we log into Google Partners. We can see under certifications, we've got Analytics. They've got your study material down below. And with this blue button here, we can start the exam. Okay, so just log in with the account that you use for Google Partners. So this exam is an hour and a half long, and in that time I've got to answer 70 questions. And there's no back and forth on the questions either, so we'll start the exam now. Okay, so the first question we've got is about sources. So if you think in your traffic report you've got sources and mediums, and these get grouped together in analytics to form channels. So if you look at search, display, and email, those would normally be channels. An example of a source would be Google CPC or Google Organic. So Google would be your source, or an organic or CPC would be your medium. Example.com would stand alone as a source, and typically that would have a medium of referral. Okay, so which of the following would you use to exclude rows with fewer than 10 visits? Okay, so we can jump over into analytics, pull up an account, dive into a report that has visits in it. Let me just do a filter here, an advanced filter to filter out let's go exclude sessions less than 10. Then we have to apply that table filter to any of our different table views. And what we'll see here is if we go to our last page, apply that filter again, so we are going to exclude rows that have less than 10 sessions. So sessions in analytics is the new name for visits. So you can see here that we're now just looking at rows, 42 rows that have greater than 10 visits. So let's lock in just the table filter. Alrighty, which of the following represents a macro conversion for an e-commerce site? So the difference between a macro conversion and a micro conversion. A macro conversion is one that really meets our big business objectives. So an e-commerce site, this could be a sale, or an example of a micro conversion could be adding to cart, or signing up to an email newsletter, or clicking on a buy button. So something that leads towards one of our macro conversions. So let's lock in a completed sale. So poor performing landing page. So really with a landing page, we're looking for someone to perform a desired action on it, and normally that's either going deeper into the site, filling in the email address, or doing something else. And typically would have a lot of new visits to a landing page. Could really be either or, new or repeat visits. With a bounce rate greater than 90% means that 9 out of 10 people are doing nothing else on our site. So they're hitting the page, then leaving again. So bounce rate greater than 90% would be a pretty poor page. If you think about AdWords, that could mean that we're sending it to the wrong page, so the page might not be relevant enough. Okay, so we're looking at the goal flow report and seeing which question can be answered. So I think we've got some goals set up over here. If we look at our conversions, then goal flow report. Let's jump into a profile that's got some goals set up. Okay, so nice way to remember what each report does when you're in analytics is to click the Analytics Academy icon up there, and that will just pop open exactly what this report does. Okay, so these are some questions that the goal flow report can answer. So where do people enter my funnel? So what page are they starting at? Are they coming through the home page, or are they looking at a product page or a category page as their first step? Where do people exit? So are people dropping off on a form maybe that's too difficult or has a lot of validation on it? Or is there a place where they get stuck? Okay, and then sort of coming back to our AdWords and SEO, is one of our traffic sources, or is one of our keywords acting differently to different medium to the others? Okay, so it does that. Not so good for segmenting on mobile devices, although we probably can do that. Looks like we're going to go with all of these ones. So if we just double check here that we can break this down by device type. Let's have a look. Right, so we can just look at the goal performance of our mobile users only. So we can look at our overall performance and then just our mobile performance. So another very long funnel set up on this analytics profile, but we can see here that you've got sort of our non-mobile traffic and our mobile traffic going towards the same goal. Okay, so setting up goals allows us to see a conversion rate. So that's basically the number of people that are performing this goal on the site. So what we'll look at is in any of our reports really, we'll get this new conversion section over here. So A, B, C, acquisition behavior, and by setting up goals, we'll also see this conversion section, and you can see our conversion rate towards this goal is there. We can see the volume of people that have completed the goal, and if we've assigned a value, we can also see the value there. Select any of our goals up here, we can select all the goals. So let's lock in conversion rates. Okay, so using filters. So filters is something that applies to analytics data before it comes into a profile. So different to segments, which segment out data once it's in an analytics profile. So profile is now called a view in Google Analytics. So you can use a filter to include or exclude data. We can also use a filter to change how data looks. So I think we're going to go with all of these answers. So your filters are configured in your admin section. So you can see that there. We've got some filters on this profile that include or exclude data. You can also do things to change URL. So if you've got ID equals 5, and you know that 5 represents your fridge category, you can rename ID equals 5 to /fridge, so it's more meaningful in your report. If a paid keyword has an assisted last click or direct conversion value of 0.5, which of the following is true? Okay, so what this one here is looking at is a different attribution model. So you can see in here we've got goals assigned to each of our, or values assigned to each of our goals. So you can see the total value here. We can basically look at different attribution models. Okay, so we're looking at an assisted last click value of 0.5. Which of the following is true? So we're basically trying to figure out how often this keyword appears at different places in our attribution models. So what we want to do here is turn on a way to measure assists, which is basically the paid keyword popping in at different places in the funnel. And so let's have a look how we would do that. Assisted versus last click. So we want to look into our multi-channel funnels rather than our attribution ones. Okay, so here we go. Assisted or last click. So this is the thing we're talking about here. So this is basically we can see here value close to 0 indicates that this channel functioned primarily as the final conversion interaction, whereas 1 means it equally assisted in assist versus final. So 0.5 or anything nearer to anything further away from 1, anything that's not 1, because 1 means equal, anything greater than 1 means it performed more as assisted than it did in there, so this is going to be primarily as a final conversion. So typically that's pretty standard for paid search, and that it will be later in the funnel. So it played an assist role less often than it played a last click role. So it's primarily a last click role without paid. So we can see that here as well, that paid, in this case it doesn't, it actually is a higher. So with yellow and the brand search, probably a little bit different. Okay, which of the following are possible uses of filters? So this is a repeat of the previous question. So we're looking at a filter being something that affects your analytics data before it goes into a view. You can filter on a campaign, you can exclude visits from a particular IP address, you can report on only a subdomain or a directory with an include filter, or like I used the example before, you could change a page URL to be something more readable. So let's lock in all of them. Okay, so which of the following attribution models would be useful for evaluating ads and campaigns that are designed to create initial awareness about a brand? I think typically with branding, you're looking at something very high up in the funnel, so it could be a new brand launch that you try and get awareness of. And yeah, like the question about creating your initial awareness, it's probably going to skew towards the first interaction model. So this is the first time someone saw a banner or clicked through to your website. And so we're going to weight up the stuff that was high on the funnel. So if we look at our model comparison, and if we go for a first click model and read a little bit about what that one does, we don't want to copy it. But I'd say I would be looking at a first interaction or one that's basically the inverse of this one, so that it weights high at the start. So let's lock in that first interaction answer. Okay, so we have three levels in analytics. One is a user level, the next one's a session level, and the final one's a hit level. So a user is basically a person going to the site. A session is how many times that same person has been to the site. And then a hit is what they do on the site. So that could be a page view, an event, or a transaction. So typically someone will only do one transaction on the site, but whether or not that would start a new session, just have to figure out what the best answer is here. It's not a page view, it's not a social interaction, it's not an event. An e-commerce transaction. If you have a specific goal type, you can only ever have one goal completion during a session. You can complete multiple goals throughout a session if they're set up as different goals. So goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. You could have one of each of those in a session, but couldn't have 3 instances of goal 1. And I'm assuming it's the same for e-commerce transactions. So let's lock that answer in. Okay, so we want to see the percentage of sessions in which a specific button was clicked. Which of the following would be most useful? It's probably two things we want to do here. First is we want to set up an event on the button, so we can do that with Tag Manager or by editing the HTML on the page. And then we want to create a goal based on that event, and that will give us the conversion rate towards how many people clicked on that button. So that will be an event goal. Okay, so the linear attribution model, so that's this one here. You can see here it assigns basically an equal weighting to each source or medium that was used throughout the model. So each touch point is going to share credit for the conversion. Okay, so custom alert. That can be based on any of these things. So you can set up analytics to alert you to a drop or an increase in conversions. Content doesn't quite sound like the right answer. Real time isn't something you would use to set up a custom alert. And intelligence is possibly how you do it. So your alerts are in the customization, are in the admin section. You've got the custom alerts, and what we are going to do is create an alert. So intelligence, conversions, real time, or content. Which of the following would you use to set up a custom alert? Okay, so I think analytics still calls these intelligence alerts. So I guess this configuration section within analytics is called intelligence. So let's lock that in. You wouldn't use content to do it. And I guess you wouldn't use your conversion data to do it, or your conversion report to do it. You definitely use your conversion data to do it. Alright, question 15. 20 minutes into the exam. Which two metrics below would be the best KPI for measuring the performance of an e-commerce business? Okay, so taking our mind off just the analytics metrics, let's figure out how we'd measure the overall business performance of an e-commerce site. And typically it's going to be about revenue, and probably what the average order value is. So I think Pageviews doesn't really give you an indication of how well your e-commerce business is performing. Bounce rate is a good one, but again, bounce rate on its own is a good way to measure how relevant your traffic is and how good your landing pages are, but it doesn't really tie back into the overall business performance. Likewise with how long people are spending on the site, not quite linked enough to your business. Okay, so ad group is not a standard campaign parameter. So the best way to think about this is think about the standard reports you have in analytics. So you've definitely got your campaign, source, medium, and content. In analytics, there's no grouping for ad group. So you won't see ad group in any of your reports other than the AdWords specific section. You will see in here, in your campaigns, you got your source, your medium, all your other stuff in here as well, which is your ad content, keywords, which is UTM term, then your AdWords section, you've got your ad group. So that's not a standard tracking parameter that you can apply to any campaign. Unique one for AdWords. Alright, question 17. Okay, so this is talking about our site search on our site. So for example, yellow.co.nz, you've got the search boxes on the home page, and Analytics has a full-on section to configure what your site search does. You can do it by search term and by category. So if you look at yellow.co.nz here, we have got it set up to site search. Show how many people use the search on the site, so just 12%, how many searches they did, how often they went on to refine that search, what the terms were, and we're using the where field. So we're doing what is the term and the where field. So that's your location, is what we're using as the category. So it's a site search report. Your SEO report would show you how people found your site. Okay, which of the following technologies on your site influence how you implement analytics? Okay, so it's not responsive web design, that just changes the layout of your page, no bearing. Server redirects, again, is how you get to a page on your site rather than what's on it. Query string parameters, yes, but they will just be reported into analytics, so you could use filters to rename them. Definitely Flash and Ajax events if you want to track those, and you have to do some custom analytics to get them tracked on your site. So that is the best answer, mainly because these top three don't really go into your initial setup of analytics. Query string parameters being the nearest one to it. So you can't choose all of the above for all the questions that offer all of the above. Okay, so we publish articles by different authors on our site. We want to create a report that shows the number of page views for each author. Which of the following features would let us add this to analytics? So NBR does this just by the URLs. So you'll see some URLs have -ck-p. That's the author Chris Keel and paid content. But a better way to do that is by doing a custom variable, or possibly a data import. So data import lets us augment analytics data, so we could basically say that articles or pages with this title or pages with this URL, either or, are written by this person, which would then let us use that data as a field in any of our reports. We could do it with segments, but we'd need to import that data or have a custom variable set up first. So the best answer here looks to be data import. Alright, question 20. Time to grab another beer. Be right back. Okay, so scopes for dimensions. So what I'm not sure of on this one is whether campaign is a valid scope, because analytics pretty much lets you slice and dice stuff as you like. So let's just have a quick look in the help. And so the difference between a dimension and a metric is basically that a dimension is a thing or a word, and a metric is normally a number. So a dimension might be Internet Explorer, and a metric would be visits. So you had 200 visits being your metric, using Internet Explorer being your dimension. Okay, so we don't have campaign as a scope there. You can see there we've got hit, session, and user. We've also got product as well. Okay, so let's just lock in user, session, and hit, because those are the valid scopes for a dimension, as well as product, and not campaign. Okay, so a view is what previously was called a profile, and that's where filters are applied. So you can set up a view to look just at a part of your site. You can also filter in or out just particular traffic. So a good example is to filter out yellow users or your own employees. And you can also obviously grant different permissions to different users. So you could limit a user's access to just a specific view. So here, those are all possible use of views within one analytics account. Okay, so we want to know whether button X is clicked more often than button Y. So what we should do for this is just put event tracking on those two buttons. So we can do that with either Google Tag Manager or in the HTML of the site. And then you could set up an intelligence alert to tell you which one is being clicked. So you could look in real time, the events coming through, and you could write notes about it, whatever your findings were. Okay, so Google Analytics can recognize returning users on definitely on websites. And I want to think if you've implemented the sort of the Analytics Mobile SDK well enough, it's on iOS and Android mobile apps. So if you set up your tracking within your app, you can recognize new or returning users on any mobile platform as well as on your site. Okay, so what is digital analytics? So we can't analyze in analytics the competition. Qualitative data is more survey data, so it's a little bit like our NPS survey, do you like us? Whereas quantitative data is normally big data, so numbers driven, so how many people are doing this versus that. And really it's the analysis of that data to drive that top one there, but that gets into more wide areas of digital marketing, so your conversion optimization or your campaign optimization and your usability. Okay, so we want to see conversion rates for Windows visits coming from London. Which of the following dimensions would we select? Goal conversion rate and city. So goal conversion rate is a metric rather than dimension, so it's probably not that answer. And likewise, right? So we're looking at goal conversion rate as being a number. So that's our metric. So dimensions will go for operating system and then city. So that will give us a list of people using Windows, and inside next to that, of the people using Windows, which cities did they come from? And then we could just filter that one by Windows and by London, and we'll get goal conversion rate down the end there as our C of our ABC. Okay, so the URL builder is a way to tag up marketing with analytics, source, medium, campaign, ad content, so it's for your creative or keyword, and that gives us more information to drive or to analyze the effectiveness of our non-AdWords marketing. So it just helps you add those tracking parameters. You don't need to do it for AdWords because AdWords has got auto tracking. You can't do it for SEO because Google will just crawl the site rather than crawling the pages that have been done by the URL, the links that have been done by the URL builder. It's not going to help us optimize our landing pages, but we'll see how they are performing based on different traffic sources. Okay, so to show two date ranges on the same chart, that is pretty simple, and it's just a date comparison. So up here, if we go up to the top on our chart, when we select our dates, we can just compare it to a different one there. So that's your date comparison. Plot rows is quite a cool one that will let us show two things on the same chart. So we can, if we jump into our search terms, what we could do with this one is plot. Can't do it on that one, but if we jump into our channels, we could plot our paid search versus our organic search on the chart up here, and we can see that organic search being the green bit makes up a lot more sessions than our paid search does. So it's just a date comparison for the chart graph. Okay, so this is talking about our time of day bidding. So within the AdWords section of analytics, there is a report called your day parts. I'm pretty sure this one's available in AdWords as well now, but if you look at our AdWords section under our acquisition, we have got our hour of the day report, which will show us when our sessions are coming through from AdWords. And pretty sure this report used to be called day parts, because it's basically showing you your different parts of the day. A little bit chicken and egg, but you can tweak your bids up and down based on that data. You can also check on, should be able to check on your impressions there as well by your day part. Okay, so the site speed is doing what it says. It's measuring how fast your pages load. It's also doing a bit of this. Not too sure about that button click response time or how quickly images load. How quickly the browser passes a page and makes it available. Possibly a better answer than page load time for a sample of pages for your site. So there's a way to set up your sampling. So where analytics will measure all the sessions or just a sample. Look at our help. What does it do? So it measures two things. Page load time for a sample of pages. And then execution speed, any direct hit or what you want to track. So we can do images, we can do how long it takes to respond to button clicks, so we can do that other stuff as well. So it looks like we're going to go for another all of the above. How quickly images load, how quickly, this is sort of your DOM reports, which you can see down there, your DOM timings. Obviously you can put it on button clicks, as we just learnt, and obviously that's the sort of the default out of the box, and the page load time for a sample of Pageviews. Okay, so repeat visits come several times before converting. You want to understand in more detail how they arrive, which of the following metrics would be most useful in showing you whether a keyword is part of the conversion path. So this one here is assisted conversions that will let us see our conversion goal and look backwards at the steps that people came on, so we could see what keywords they use on the prior times than when they came, or where else they came from. So which of the following metrics would be most useful in measuring how many conversions were initiated by paid search? Okay, so I think paid search is a little bit of a red herring on this question, so possibly initiated there, so initiated by a source. So initiated, I think, could be the trick in this one. But if we look at first interaction conversions, this will basically tell us how many conversions were there when paid search was the first click in what someone did. So the first time someone came to our site, they clicked on a paid search ad. That's what the first interaction one will tell us. And that will give us the number, so let's lock that in. Okay, second view of our data. So looking at view there. What is the best way to set this up? It is to create a new view. Specific subdirectory, from the filter type drop down and specify the subdirectory. So that's looking like a pretty good answer. Don't have to create a whole new web property that deletes page data outside the subdirectory. Create a new view and apply an advanced filter that deletes page data outside the directory. That's basically a more complex way of doing the same thing. You don't have to create a new analytics account. So create a new view. This is a duplicate view. I am not sure if there's a difference between new views or duplicate views. I haven't heard of duplicating a view being a thing before, but essentially that's what a view is. It's just another way, or a duplicate way of looking at the same tracking. Alright, so we can copy the view here. Not sure if that will bring in the previous data or not. Let's see. What I'm thinking is that every view starts fresh, so there'll be no prior data in the view. So we'll just copy basically the configuration settings. I'm going to go with that one, mainly based on the second part here, that this is a much easier way to just see traffic, is to use the include filter, one of the basic filters. Okay, so the number of times our ads were displayed is just impressions. A simple one. You can import impression data from Bing into Analytics if you want to. You can do it with a data import or a Bing connector. By default, you can import your AdWords stuff just by linking them. Okay, so person A, person B both visit our site once. During her visit, A buys one of our products. Then before leaving, she buys another one. Person B buys nothing. What is our e-commerce conversion rate? Okay, so back to the early question we had about how many times you can do a goal during a session, or a conversion during a session. And conversion rate is going to be based on sessions. So if someone does 2 transactions during a session, they are only going to count as 1. So we've basically got two users, just 2 sessions here, and so that is going to be 50% unless the transaction starts another session. So really what we've got to figure out here is whether we have got 3 sessions and 2 transactions, or whether we have got 2 users and 1 transaction. Have a look here. 1 goal and 2 transactions. So 1 goal and 2 transactions. So conversion rate is going to be based on sessions. So because it's the same session, we're going to keep it at 50%. There's also no option in here to have 67%, which it would be if there would be 2 out of 3 conversions. So let's lock that in. Alright, halfway through, and we are spot on with our time once we answer this question. It's almost time for another beer. True or false? When you share a link to a custom report, you share the data in the report. So false. This is the second one here. So when you're sharing a report template, you're sharing just the configuration of that report that you've set up. So it could be a custom dimension or segment, and then people can apply that to any view that they like. So you need to share and make sure that someone has permission to look at your data. Otherwise, you are just sharing a report template that they can apply to any data that they've got access to. Okay, so which of the following is a valid validly tagged custom campaign? It's a medium source campaign. This one looks pretty good. Campaign. We wouldn't normally tag referral, and if we did, we'd normally put example.com. So there's a couple of things that we can pick that one. Content, source, medium, campaign. It looks pretty good as well. Medium equals email, source newsletter, campaign equals spring. Looks pretty good. Medium equals CPC, so that's good. My search could be a CPC search engine. Campaign equals spring. UTM term equals backpacks. That would be the keyword that we're buying. Cost per click. This top one is the worst. Like whenever I do referrals, just because it's a built-in medium in analytics, I like to do example.com. So that's a good thing if you want to tag your social share links up, because sometimes they'll come through as referrals, sometimes they won't. You can force it by tagging the URL with referral, facebook.com or twitter.com, and you can give it a campaign as well. Campaign, UTM medium, source, content, so that's valid, campaign. They all look pretty good to me. Okay, so attribution is around assigning credit for conversions. And it's just a way to say or recognize that someone might click a display banner, come back to your site direct, and then finally do a search on Google and either click on an ad or come through organically. And each of those things have built up to a sale, so we want to give them some value on the conversion path. Okay, so looking for the most popular content on our site, which of the following sections will have this report information by default? So in our ABCs, it's acquisition, behavior, conversion, and really what is on our site is locked in the behavior section. So acquisition is how they get there. Conversion is sort of the outcomes we've defined in terms of what we want them to do, and behavior is what they do on the site. So there is a section in your behavior grouping which has site content. So you can see that we can see our top pages, we can see our top landing pages, we can drill down by folders, and see our top exit pages as well. So it's going to be our behavior section. Exploring metrics by campaign and traffic source. Which of the following sections will have this report information by default? So this is the A in our ABC, so acquisition, behavior, conversion, and campaign and traffic source. So that's going to be our all traffic reports. If we jump out of behavior, pop back up to acquisition, we can see here in our all traffic we've got stuff broken down by source and medium, and we can do that just by source or just by medium or by channel if we look at the other report. Which of the following channels is part of the default channel grouping? So channel is kind of like a aggregation of sources and mediums, and direct is in there, social is in there, organic I think is in there, and display probably is in there. So we're going to go pretty good, 9 out of 10 if we just keep choosing all of the above. If we look in our channels, default channel groupings, we have got organic search, direct, paid search, referral, social, email, and other. We don't have display in there, but I think that's because we are not buying any display into this website. If we look in our admin, this is where you load in your custom channel groupings. You can see in here we've got our channel settings, channel groupings, and those are our defaults, right? So we've got direct, organic, organic search, paid search, other advertising, and display in there. So display definitely in there as a default. Did we have social? Yes, we did. So we'll lock in all of the above. Okay, so if we are doing, or we've used the display remarketing version of Google Analytics, we've opted in to collect these metrics. We can see in our audience things, so sort of your pre-A before your ABC. Your audience tab, we have got a full-on demographic section, so we can see an overview of how old our users are, what sex they are, and then drill that down by interest categories and other demographic data. So that's in our audience section. Which of the following technologies or features would be used to add data to Google Analytics? So measurement protocol is the API, and we can do data import manually as well. Real-time is a reporting feature, so that's real-time reports. Can't use it to add data. Intelligence is about alerting, so that's what's happened after the data has come in. So let's exclude those three, and the way to do it is through measurement protocol API or data import. Question 43, following the answer to everything, which of the following are hit types tracked by Google Analytics? So remember we've got the sort of different tracking levels, so user, session, hit, and product. And we are looking at an event and a page view definitely being hit types, and a transaction being one as well. So anything that is not a user or session that's tracked on the site is an example of a hit. So again, we are going to lock in all of the above. Okay, so our common hit types: page, view, event, transaction, social interaction. We can also use it for some more advanced error handling our page speed or user timing, and some mobile stuff as well. But definitely events, page views, and transactions. Okay, so remember with our filters, we can pre-process data before it gets into one of our views, and so we can basically say that anytime we see a URI or a page called index, we can replace that with home. So all the reports and analytics look at the bit after the domain name. Analytics calls it the host name, so that's this bit here. So I'm pretty sure that the search that you want to do here is just for /index, replace it with /home. Let's have a quick look in our admin section. In our filters, we can do a find and replace filter on the request URI for index. Well, maybe I am wrong and it takes into account the domain name. Okay, so it looks like the request URI is all-encompassing, so it's taking into account the host name or domain name as well. And it needs to be fully formed. And you can see here that it's using regular expressions as well, so you need to escape things like dots, and you can do smart matches as well, so that will match anything that comes beyond that, and just shorten it down to that. Okay, so let's change that from that one to that one, although we're not escaping our dots in this one, which I think will be problematic. It may work without the dots, because if you imagine matching that with that versus that with that, not too sure on this one. I think this one here is going to fail because it's not escaping the dots in there. So we're not really doing our backslash escaped. Okay, so stubbornly I'm going to leave that answer as my first choice and move on to question 45. Define goal X such that any PDF download qualifies as a goal conversion. User comes to our site once, downloads 5 PDFs, so that user is just going to count once. So that's one session, they've completed goal X, basically one time. So our goal is defined as someone that downloads any PDF. So 0 or 2, holy mathematics, I don't think you get those, but between 1 and 5, we're just going to go with 1. If it was 5 different PDFs, you could also set up 5 different goals. You could have X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. 6 different goals, and if you did different PDFs with different goals, that would count for each one. In this case, any PDF qualifies as the goal, so we have completed that goal of downloading any PDF once. Which of the following behavior metrics will show the number of sessions that included a view of a page? So it's not going to be unique visits, that's the number of people that have come to our site. It's not going to be total page views. This one's going to be too low, so it won't count repeat sessions. This one's going to be too high, so it'll count every page that someone has looked at. Bounce rate is a percentage, so it's not going to count that one. So between visits and unique page views, I think visits is the better answer. Visits is now called sessions in analytics, that makes things a little bit confusing. But unique page views pivots a little bit differently to what the questions are. So it will tell us how many times or how many users have viewed this page, rather than how many users have viewed any page. So let's lock in visits. Okay, so example.com, we set up a goal URL of /thankyou, matched up with begins with, so it has to begin with /thankyou after the domain name. Which of the following goals would count? /thankyou, /thankyou, /thankyou. So begins with does mean exactly as it sounds, so it's going to match to all of these. So again, let's just go with all of the above. Okay, so we're looking at a content publisher. So these guys basically want to know if they're writing about the right stuff. So for New Zealand Herald, is it better to write about Miley-Cyrus or Ebola? What's more interesting? What should they focus their efforts on? Okay, so we want to encourage engagement and frequent visitation. Sounds like a pretty good one. But we're not going to be following up selling stuff to potential leads, and we're not going to be selling products or services. So to me, encouraging engagement and frequent visitation, so that would be pages per visit or time on site, plus how many returning users they had would be the best one for a content publisher. Which of the following would we use to send data from a web-connected point-of-sale system to Google Analytics? So this is something like our beautiful CTN reverse proxy server users. So when a phone call rings, how do we send it back to Google Analytics? We can't do it with JavaScript tracking code because there's no JavaScript in a phone. We can't put a tracking parameter on the phone call the same way with a URL. We're not going to do the Analytics Mobile SDK, that's more designed for apps. I'm just going to use the measurement protocol, which is the API, to basically link the offline world back into analytics. Okay, so I want to evaluate my landing pages that I'm using for AdWords. What's going to be most useful? So probably here what I'm going to look at is my conversion rate by destination URL. So all of these things are pretty useful, but what we're really focusing in here on is our landing pages and how effective they are. So the best way to see that would be to look at which destination URLs we're using and which are converting the most. So there is a reporting section here in the acquisition AdWords section for destination URLs. This will give it a list of all the destination URLs that we're using in our campaign. You can see here all the ABC metrics that Analytics has on that. So how many new users we brought in, what the bounce rate was, how long they spent, and what the engagement was on the site. and how well they converted. So this will give us a nice breakdown of what people are doing. We can go into each of these ones and pivot a different way. So we can bring this back to AdWords by breaking it down by keyword if we want to. So we can see which keywords backing into our AdWords campaign are using this landing page here. They're now looking at, so it's just our Auckland taxis landing page. Okay, so we can see these are all the keywords that are coming through its landing page. There might be some in here that you say, well, hey, Hamilton taxis, that shouldn't be going to this landing page. And we'll see that one's got a bounce rate a little bit higher. Again, discount cabs, maybe we want a page that's more about discounts than the page we're using is. Okay, so this one is around immediate content. So again, for the New Zealand Herald, people looking at that article we just posted, maybe the photo or the headline isn't attractive enough. So we could tweak that and look at the real-time reports to see if it is getting the results that we expect from it. Okay, so things you aren't allowed to put into analytics is anything that can identify a user. So none of the above, but credit card number would not be a secure thing to put into Google Analytics. Okay, so which campaign tracking variables are required in order to ensure accurate data shows for your campaigns in the all traffic report? So typically we want source and medium as an absolute minimum, and campaign is a nice to have. So without source, we're not really going to have anything to work with. So source and medium plus campaign is a nice way to show a grouping by the campaign as well. So term is keyword, content is ad creative. We'd want a medium in there. We need a medium in there. Again, we need a source and keyword and ad creative on their own aren't enough if we don't know the source of the medium that has come from. Okay, so I sell colourful wristwatches that people can customize using a tool on my website. What represents a micro conversion for my site? So a micro conversion is probably someone using the tool, whereas the macro conversion for me would be selling a watch to someone. So someone using the tool would be a micro. Via the homepage isn't really a conversion at all. An online sale would be my macro conversion. Offline sale would be another macro conversion. So anything that's a deliberate action that someone needs to go through leading up to my my macro conversion of a sale would be a micro conversion. So let's lock in someone using my customization tool. Okay, so if I'm rebuilding a website, which dimensions would be useful to reference? So this is something we've been doing for our own websites. We want to know what browsers people are using. Probably the most important one. Screen colors, not even sure if that's a report. Most screens these days, other than Amazon Kindle, are in all colors. Language, interesting. But more a content thing than really about a rebuild. But really there's some obviously design and stylistic features. Do we have a lot of mobile users using Safari or Android on mobile or Chrome on mobile? So what browsers do we need to make sure our site works really well and that we use for testing? Okay, so you can combine a metric X with a dimension Y in analytics. Pretty much they have the same scope. Now this is going into our user session hit product matrix. And as I did, I think in a couple of examples, you can see sometimes some things aren't available to combo with So you can combine metric X with dimension Y. So you're basically seeing that these are our metrics along the top here, our numbers, and our dimensions down here. So I've already drilled down into a secondary dimension of keyword. If I back up out of there, go to all our destination URLs, there will be some things that I just can't combo this report with. Do they need the same scope? Nothing to do with channel grouping. Channel is about our sort of major source medium combos. If they've been pre-calculated together in the aggregate table, not too sure. Campaign wouldn't be an issue. Often you run into sampling, but again, not too much of an issue. And so I'm going to go with scope on that one. Okay, so first step of analytics planning, and backing out of our sort of analytics goals for a second, let's define what our overall business objectives are, and then come up with a measurement plan to meet those business objectives, to measure those business objectives. And then we'll do an implementation plan. We'll need to know what our technical infrastructure is to do that, and then we'll implement Google Analytics. But the first step is to define what we want to achieve and how we're going to do that. Okay, so macro conversion is a major goal that we want someone to do on our site. Won't happen prior to a micro. Micro are normally ones that build up to a macro. It's not trigger based, so there's no sort of goal to level up. And it doesn't have to be particularly attributable to a display campaign, but it's this one here. So macro conversion occurs when someone completes an action that's important to our business. So that's the major goal of our website. Alright, so our business objective is to maximize the number of sales through your website. Which of the following metrics would most directly help you measure performance against this objective? So basically we don't need people to look at more pages. We want a low bounce rate, but it's not really the main driver. And neither is pages per visit, right? So we want more people converting. So if our e-commerce rate is 2%, we lift that to 5%. We've basically got 2.5 times more people converting. So that would maximize the sales through our website by having more people convert. Page value, possibly. So that's page value, not page view. Still think e-commerce conversion rate's probably a better answer. Page value basically says in the pages leading up to your transaction, it assigns the value back to those pages. So we could say that someone who lands on a $1,000 product page, that page is going to be more valuable than a $1 or $2 product page. So PII, personally identifiable information, is not allowed to be sent into a profile. Pretty hard blanket rule that Analytics has got. Okay, 10 questions and 17 minutes to go. When configuring a goal, it's always useful to define a goal value to basically figure out if any paid advertising that we're doing is making money for us. So yeah, obviously your e-commerce transactions have the revenue per order, or the value per order that someone's paid for them. We want to really figure out what each conversion is worth to our business. So if someone is completing a form in our site, we need to figure out how much that form is worth to us, so we can assign it a value and figure out whether we're making money or not from buying traffic to our site. Okay, so we have a website and a mobile app. We want to track each of these separately in Analytics. How would we structure that? So definitely one account, two properties would work. one account, one property, no views would not work, so you need a view to do anything. We can use analytics to track the mobile app, so we can definitely do that. And using views to separate those out wouldn't be the best way to do it. So our mobile app and our website are very different, so we should be sending each of those into different properties. Mainly because you've got screens and users to measure on your mobile app, whereas if you've got page views to measure on your website, so quite different things that you're tracking. Okay, so my multi-channel funnel report has no data. What is the most likely reason? It's not content experiments, that's A/B testing. If we haven't implemented goals or e-commerce, we won't have any funnel to come through. Tag manager wouldn't matter, demographic data wouldn't matter. And so really a multi-channel funnel is different to a goal funnel. So a goal funnel would show us the steps that someone did on our site to complete the goal, whereas a multi-channel funnel basically shows us the different channels that someone came through to complete our goal. So yeah, having no goals I think would be the best answer to this one, because we're looking at really the different channels leading up to our conversion rather than the goal steps, which would be our goal funnel. So which of the following would be most useful in measuring how many days pass between the first visit to the site and the eventual conversion? Okay, so path length is the number of pages or steps that someone went through, and I am pretty sure there is one called time lag. So if we jump into our summary and our conversions, we've got our attribution or our multi-channel funnels, we've got our time lag. So we can see here that the majority of people on this site are doing it the same day, but we can see there is a grouping here that still represent almost $6,000 of value to us that are taking it 11 days versus their first visit before they complete a conversion. So that's going to be our time lag report, and you can see it just breaks it down literally by days, so that's exactly what that report does. Okay, so why will we maintain one unfiltered view when using filters within your analytics accounts? This is basically to make sure you don't fuck up. And so, yeah, it's making sure that our original data is always there. And if we put on a filter that's too aggressive or changes stuff, we basically want to have a fallback that we can refer back to that shows everything. So it's always good to have one view that is just your view of everything that's been collected by analytics, so you can see what that is at any given time. Okay, 5 questions to go, 12 minutes left, we're doing good, so time for a final beer. For each user who comes to our site, Analytics automatically captures which of the following traffic source dimensions. Source and medium. So if you think about someone coming from Google, that would be Google Organic or Google CPC, Yahoo Organic, Bing Organic, or Direct None, if they're just coming straight to our site. Campaign is something that we have to define using the URL tagging. Campaign or ad content would be something we define as well. Campaign and ad content is something that we need to define before that data will go into analytics. But by default, it will capture where it came from and what type of site that it was, what type of medium it was, if that's available. Okay, which of the following would be valid segments to consider when looking at data? Traffic by device sounds pretty good. Traffic by channel sounds pretty good. That's also available as a segment. Traffic by geography, traffic by time of day sounds like a good one. They all sound pretty good, and they're all available as segments. So segments in analytics, if we go to a standard report, say all our traffic, just these things along the top. So we can define segments pretty much however we want now. So if we create a new segment, we have got basically anything we want to do in here. So got all our traffic sources. We can do time of day. We can do definitely by channel. We've got channel groupings. Definitely do by device, which is normally your mobile or not mobile. And of course we can do by city or any of our geos as well, so country in there as well. And yeah, they're all valid, so again we're going to go for all of the above. Question 68. Which of the following would most quickly allow us to determine whether the analytics tracking code snippet is working on a specific report? So we do this in real time, so basically we put the tracking code on there, then go to the site. And if we open up analytics, we should see a session occur straight away in our real-time reports. Alright, number 69. Which are examples of mediums? So your mediums are CPC, organic, email, conversion, could be a metric, so how many conversions are you getting? It could also be one of your goals, so what is the conversion you're trying to drive? Is it a sign up or a sale? Example.com would be a source, so that would normally be a referral from example.com, so referral would be a medium, example.com would be a source. Likewise with Google, that would be your source, and you'd have your mediums as CPC or organic, whether it was AdWords or SEO. So email there is your medium. Okay, so in analytics, a session times out after, pretty sure it's 30 minutes. And so basically we want to figure out if there's something on our site that people would be doing that takes longer than 30 minutes that analytics isn't counting. So if someone looks at a lot of pages, analytics will count all those pages. So it could be that the games on our site are highly interactive. If we have one flash game that you play for hours and hours, that would be a reason. Average article takes 4 minutes to read, so we wouldn't need to do it there because you'd be going from article to article after 4 minutes. If we look at that one there, the average reading on our site is 35 minutes. You would see an analytics timeout there at 30 minutes, and then a new session would start if they went on to play another video. We can change this. A typical session on our site involves filling out 3 forms. So as long as those forms didn't take 31 minutes each, we would count those 3 form completions in one session. Okay, so that's the last question. So fingers crossed we've done it right. All right, we got 91%. So we got 6 wrong in there somewhere. We chose a lot of all of the aboves. Most of them seem pretty valid, but please let me know if you can figure out the 6 that I got wrong during the test. Cool, and we passed. So we needed 80% to pass, and we got 91%. So pretty good effort. Pat on the back for myself, and all the best with the